Do you all feel fine? Yes, yes, after this day. But our first speaker, we have speakers all over the Scandinavia, people also all over the world actually, is professor, great speaker, Saara Taalas. She speaks about how we can best understand or build the outstanding customer experiences. Please, warm applause to Saara.
Cheers, thank you. Good morning. So ever so exotic to be in Helsinki. Basically, it's always a fabulous feeling when when somebody introduces you as a professor, because you can really feel the atmosphere drop. But because nobody expects professors to do more than basically, you just triple draw. Okay, right. But anyway, I'll do my best to disturb you because we are very, very rare people who are actually usually skeptics. So when the opening is like it's the end of the world, so we're not like, yeah. That's a typical kind of professorial approach to everything. So there's going to be, got to be enough of that. And you know shit. And then there's going to be, this is great. So there's usual kind of a professorial up and down sort of thing. Right. So expect two things. I'm a huge big fan of certain aspects, and then really big skeptic, a lot of stuff, right? So we start with the fan bit, so that there would be this positive experience beginning, and then I get skeptical towards, after the first 3 minutes, okay, right? I'd like to take you back to a very Wittgensteinian, quite, got you there, of a question of how does one make up one's mind? So how does one actually make up one's mind? So I'm really sorry that I wasn't here yesterday when you talked about mind and people's ideas and brains and stuff. When you say mind or brain, you know nothing of how it actually works. Most of the stuff that you've been talked about yesterday was doing micro marketing stuff like old brains and new brains and stuff like that. And most of the neuroscience has shown that kind of division is pure shite. So, sorry to my viewers in other parts of the world, but in Finland we can say this out loud. So basically there is no such thing as, older parts of your brain. When you think of your grandmother, your whole brain lights up like a Christmas tree. Yeah, I bet they didn't tell you that, did they? Right. So there goes the macro marketing checklist. So how do you make actually decisions? There's no shortcuts to knowledge or understanding. So basically just saying brain or technology or software doesn't really get you anywhere. Right. That's a good starting point, a skeptical starting point to become a more enthusiastic. I'd like to do something which we in this day of data don't usually do. And I'm working, basically my professorship was donated by IKEA. I've been working with a big brand. We are training people to work for them and such like things. So basically, I use IKEA as an example of some of the aspects here. But I'd like to start from the everyday. I know this is really boring for those who might be working with some fancy brands, right? But let's look at the everyday. It's a struggle. It's a struggle to get here in the morning. It's an amazing thing we make it out of the door in the morning. I mean, there's so many tensions, so many expectations. If you are in the middle of your, from 30s to 50s, you pay everything, always, for everyone. So that means you are always needed. Somebody wants something from you, even those who are nearest and dearest, and then from there onwards. It's a struggle, it's an amazing thing that we can make it anyway, so it's a really cool thing. Let's look at those tensions so that we can actually build some of our thinking on this. IKEA has done now 4 years in a row one of the biggest studies of everyday life in the world. I bet you haven't read it. It would be really a good thing to go and read it. It's in that thing called interweb. Right, so one of my doctoral students have been involved doing that. I haven't been part of that, so close enough, right? So basically, the interesting thing about how everyday involves, and this is the first time last year, it's a study that's completed in 22 countries, hundreds and hundreds of interviews, ethnographic data collected, and some 21,000 people are, participating in the surveys of this. So it's a really big corporate research effort. So basically, the interesting thing is they identify 5 tensions in our everyday life that we are struggling with, right? So basically, we love our stuff. We need our stuff. We need our meaningful stuff, meaning those things that we need. It might be your mobile phones. I think everybody has their mobile phone now, at least in Finland. In Northern Europe, definitely. South Korea, many other places as well. And I mean, we are not even close to as how important it is in India, right? And then we have this pressure of declutter. I mean, God. Most of the stuff that you're trying to sell is something we really don't have a place for. It doesn't matter how fabulous it might be. We just don't want it because we don't know where to put the stuff that we already have. And that's a huge tension in a sense. We would feel that there's a pressure to declutter our lives, KonMari, from here to high heaven, but really, honestly, we can't be bothered, or we don't really want it badly enough, right? Please don't start this death clearing thing. I mean, it's a morbid thing. Don't do that. It's not good for a human being. So there's a tension between the clutter and between the meaningful things. So we try and struggle that. How to prioritize stuff. That brings us to another tension that we live with. I hate your stuff. That's my interpretation of it. Basically means I want my personal space. We all need our personal space. But we find it really, really difficult to ask for or to organize for. For example, we all have in whatever our lived space is, other people's stuff that really bugs us. Or we are kind of struggling to have our own space, one way or another, find a place to begin with, or to have our own space, even just a small space. Quite many people find it a digital space nowadays as their personal private space. So we struggle with this. We need space for ourselves, but it's really difficult to ask for or organize. Third struggle or tension is that we really feel like, our first space, which is usually called home. Everybody's got some kind of a home or a sense of home or belonging. 57% say that when they're home and they're in their private space, they are present, which is really great and lovely. That's what all mindfulness coaches and gurus would love us to feel. That means that 2 out of 5 people feel disconnected when they are in their private space. That means something is taking away this tension, right? So we're kind of, where's our, there's always something. There are messages coming in, there are people who want something from us, someone's sending messages, marketing tries and take too much of our time, space. So there's a tension between these two. Fourth tension is absolutely to do with dealing with technology. 27% people feel really happy to bring technology into their homes. Just bring it on. It's great. I bet all of you are in those people. It's okay It's okay. There's quite a few of you. But then there are the rest of us who struggle how to kind of cope with which technology, how much of it does everybody has to have everything all the time? Is that the latest, oldest, best, that kind of thing, and how to incorporate it in our lives, right? There's a constant struggle. You can't solve this. None of these tensions are solvable for once and for all. So basically, we fight them every time we try and get out of the house. And then this idea of we would like our first space to be somehow complete. We really have this desire and dream that it would be great if life was somehow finished. Like all this trying all the time would somehow come to her like, oh, I've achieved this. Do you recognize this feeling? Well, it's not going to happen. Life is an unfinished business, and then you talk with your dad, who's 76, and he says like, yeah, those were the best days of my life when everything was so all over the place all the time. And you just go like, you have no idea what you're talking about. But anyway, I think he has a point. So basically, just to try and get to the sense that life, and first spaces particularly, is a kind of ongoing business, and it's not going to be finished. And it's kind of, under construction in one way or another, and we ride it, and it doesn't mean that it's got to be somehow a failure. So those are 5 tensions. We need help with these, right? So basically, how to prioritize our stuff, our time. How to make room for our own sort of personal space, how to do that, and how to deal with other people's bubbles. Is anybody home? And it's like, how to be present in those things that are meaningful for me. How to connect and disconnect, and how to deal with these things. And how to deal with this idea of, life should be able to be somehow, our first spaces should be a kind of step ahead of us. So that, it would not be completely, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And not completely, I know exactly how things are going to be in 5 years' time. But kind of in a way that we can predict reasonably a few steps ahead of what we're going to need next, right? We need help in this. All of us do. And for the first time, we're in a situation where marketing can actually solve some of these things for us, can provide a service that can help us with dealing these things, which I think is the most central aspect of what we're talking about. So I hope that end of the world, as we know it, means that the end of world of, trying to sell more shit is basically turning into how to solve people's very important aspects of dealing with tensions in our lives. And some of these MarTech solutions can help marketing actually provide this kind of service. It's much more humble and much more important job to do. So that's brilliant. This is my fandom. I've been waiting personally for 10 years, not 7 years, but 10 years sounds better than 7 years, for this magical moment where geeks and nerds would meet, right? Yeah, obviously I come from the nerdy side, as all university people usually do. We tend to be nerdy, but we're kind of interested in the geeks, and I've been working with geeks in media since 2004. So basically trying to understand their geeky world from the nerdy side. And basically we're finally there. They are firmly divorced, have been kind of flirting with each other for a long time. But now we're here where the computers, analytics, big data are kind of coming together. This picture is really new. It's 2013. So yeah, I picked it already then. So old slides, really we love this stuff. But basically now we have that. So we have the nerds, the engineers, the software people, process delivery, designers, and then we have the content people finally come together. So basically in MarTech, you can see this merging, and that is changing things. It's been a long coming process. I hope it's going to, and I'm pretty sure it's going to go fast from here. Now the question is, is one going to take over the other? Now that's the real struggle. But finally we're on the same page, right? Which is really good. That means that we can solve some real problems and offer some real service in what we try and do. Here's the fan and here's the skeptic, okay? So I'm a huge, big fan of fans, active audiences, geeks in general, because I can see that developing how do people think and act and make decisions and what influences us and what inspires us. Then I'm a huge, big fan of nerds as well, because I feel like I belong there somehow in the nerdy side, even though I'm not quite as antisocial as some of my even nerdier friends, whom I love. But basically the idea that you can bring these things together, I think it offers a wonderful platform for the future of solving some real problems, not just vanity problems. The other thing of fandom is that we are finally out of that luxury status driven thinking of marketing, for example, that, it's always about mass customization and then getting more money for the same thing, and then people would feel even more status oriented. That kind of luxury driven idea of marketing was really boring and really out of this world. Now when we think about solving problems, real life problems for real people, we talk about big volume questions, and we talk about some real life stuff. So now we're back to kind of solving and offering a service that would be that would have some kind of value proposition for people to engage with. I see lots of examples of that. Then the skepticism is I see markets being flooded with software that we haven't seen the end of it, and this is not the end of it. That always pushes down price of stuff. There will be more and more. I think Salesforce is a good example. More and more big movers. Am I allowed to say things like that? I suppose. Anyway, basically, but it's true. Throwing free stuff into the market. That basically means you have so much choice, and you're exactly in that sort of situation. Where should we do? Where should we go? Which should we use? Where should we commit ourselves? Is it going to be something different in 6 months' time? 2 months' time? Am I in what kind of... They're all very different, and I think the market is currently sort of very problematic. So we're going to see people overinvest time and money. It's that time. So that's kind of skepticism from the business side. And then from a more kind of academic point of view, a more of kind of knowledge point of view, there's always a worry that you're going to lose the point. You're going to lose the real point of what one wants to do. Marketing as a service, so it's different from the mobility as a service. But basically, marketing as a service means that you're out there with the content and with the service and with the process and delivery to solve problems and challenges, offering the kind of service or information or content that would be useful. And of course, the usefulness is always produced by the consumers and users and clients. So usefulness can never be coded into marketing. Now, let's say that again. Usefulness of something can never be produced to your marketing or any content or any process. The usefulness is always produced by the users, clients, and consumers. That's it's good to take this as a starting point, because this is what it is. And that's the marketing paradigm that's been since 2004. I mean, service dominant logic is based on this idea that we can't deliver value, we can deliver value proposition, which means basically we can construct something together, right? And that's a very important part of marketing. So basically, it's a small idea, but it changes strategic thinking in a completely different way. Basically, it starts radically from the market side, by thinking of how does people's lives evolve and what is happening there, not out of what can we do with our fancy toys, which is the usual, fun and games sort of thing. So basically, starting from the real life challenges and try and offer solutions or something to help us with this. Okay, what we can do with MarTech is we can help priorities and sort. We can provide services, and we already now have many machine learning services, for example, on everyday life, which are helping to prioritize, for example, or sorting into packages, for example. Okay, right. An experience is, for example, travel. I need to get from southern Sweden to Helsinki. I mean, like, it's never a flight. I mean, that's only part of my experience or my journey. There are all sorts of other stuff on the way and all sorts of other concerns. So basically, how to sort, how to know when to leave, how to do this. And this is something that we know already in particularly travel industry, hospitality industry, and e-commerce. We have all this kind of services which are already nudging us to this way. So basically, if your marketing, message, and touch points with your clients or with your clients' clients can help to sort and prioritize, it would be a great service. It would be great marketing. It's a very important point. So think starting from that aspect. Personalized service. I mean, we all know the extreme personification that took place over the last years, basically. It's been around for a long time. I don't mean that, right? I think it's well and truly done. Now what we expect is a personal service, feeling that this is servicing me in a particular way that is useful. And here we come to the useful and production of usefulness. And that's always something that I produce within the context of my life. So usefulness is produced in these touch points where I all the time make decisions about, is this useful service for me? Now, that's a very important point. Women are particularly tough audience here. Digital services have been really slow on coming to women. So women aren't, the common knowledge is like women are just not interested in technology. Hell yeah, we're not interested in technology unless it solves my problem, right? So think of women, produce something that's useful. Hey, it was 2015. I mean, you're not alone, guys. I think it was 2015 for the first time when the world's biggest software on health monitoring, eye health, finally discovered menstruation. It's an amazing thing for humankind. 2015, humankind, not a big deal. For engineers in Silicon Valley, huge breakthrough. There's only 2% of those are women, so I suppose, in coffee rooms, this is not a common discussion. But really, seriously, earth calling. So what I mean is it's a pretty recent thing. So come back to this life, this body, and provide something that will solve problems. Is that cool? Okay, right, sorry. Right. So personalized service, something that feels relevant to me and would be therefore useful. If it's not relevant, we just move on. There goes your message, there goes your process, there goes your fancy tech. Tough. So relevance and usefulness. Give us something that we can use to solve. Women have particularly many challenges in everyday lives. And this is a business case. Women may, by far, the majority of everyday purchase decisions. Women. Right, anyway, I know, this is very advanced. Sorry. And now we come to another sort of a bit challenging, because we love our stuff. Everything is beautiful nowadays. There isn't ugly marketing any longer, which is a very happy thought. But basically, so everything's beautiful, everything is always fabulous. But seriously, you're busy. We don't have time for engagement. Nobody's spent, in real life, in a real adult life, nobody spends that much time with your marketing content. It's just the ugly truth. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. And of course, it is pretty and beautiful. So basically, we struggle to stay present in those moments that are meaningful for us. Marketing, like hands up those who feel that marketing is really meaningful to take up my life. Yeah, I know, because you are people. You're clever people, right? So we have so many other things to do. So sometimes, perhaps, if you think in service terms, if you can solve something simply, quickly, with a minimum of engagement, that can be a fabulous service. And it says, wow, it took me only 10 seconds. I didn't really have to pay attention to this. Think about it. We never think it in those terms because we always want someone to come and say, oh, isn't that lovely? But sometimes, I'm really grateful for those people who can solve my problem really fast. I will go back. So engagement and emergence in your content or in your process is not necessary. It can be the most fantastic service is almost something that you didn't even think that you used. And then it becomes Kleenex, right? So it's ever present. It's a concept that, you can't live without. But that doesn't mean that you need to think about and dream about it. Seriously. So it's a very important point. Give us the freedom to be present in what is meaningful for us. That is a huge challenge, huge thing, huge service, huge gift that you can give with marketing. Think about it. It's so cool. And then, then we come to taming technology. And I talk about taming, and of course this is Mika Pantsar, word, which I really, really love. But this idea is like, we don't want more technology or more complex technology or technological complexities added to our lives. Look, it's enough as it is on our plate all the time. Things are changing. So basically, if you can tame the technology for us, and there are big companies who've actually built their whole business. Like if you think about Apple, for example, it's a Soviet Union. You don't know what's happening behind it. That doesn't stop you from using it. Quite the contrary. We love using it because we have no idea how it works. So basically, most of the time, tame the technology for us. Just put it somewhere else. Then, of course, we come to obscure diagnostics and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And, tomorrow is 25th of May. But basically, but it's okay to say that out loud. Basically, we have all this tech running behind. Is it okay? Great. But it doesn't need to be in our face. I mean, like, how annoying has it been over the last 2 weeks to get those messages? Do we have your consent? You feel like you're in a school, dance, which was really painful. So basically, take care of that problematics of technology. Say, look, this might not be perfect. This might not be the only one. But we can push it back for you a little bit so that you have time to focus and make up your mind and be present elsewhere, right? And then the prediction. I mean, this prediction is, of course, something that's one of the most fantastic stuff that we have already. I mean, it's great when you get your Google Mail that tells you now, oh, yes, you're flying to Helsinki, you're flying to Sydney, you're flying to there next week, and here are the services that are provided. It's really great. Personal assistant is a wonderful idea. Then there are degrees to this, in a sense of, how does it talk to you? Is it Jeeves? What would you like today, ma'am? Or is it your mother? Remember to take with you so and so. Or is it your friend? Oi, you're going out with Ello. So, you might, get some extra cash because you're going to get sloshed again, right? But what I mean in a sense, how does this kind of service you? Meaning, what is useful? How does it sound like? If this was IKEA, we'd be talking about things like, we'd be here with 10 engineers trying to solve a problem like, how does the predictive service sound like? At which particular point in the customer journey? We'd be engineering it from here to high heaven in the greatest detail. And that's why I like it, because that we have the engineering and the process power with us, in a sense. We take these things seriously now. And it's not just, throw it out there and hope for the best. Good luck. So predicting beyond the touch point, so that, for customer, for us in our everyday life, it doesn't really matter if you don't control all the touch points. So you can predict and you can offer stuff which is beyond. Because it's a service to recommend something or say, oh, you might be interested in this. It doesn't mean that you need to control it from absolutely. And it's a very expensive business to start controlling everything. So thinking beyond just those points that we have to offer into what are the real life touch points. And they don't need to be yours. You don't have to own them. You don't need to control them. And that's not a failing. It's a very clever thing. I think about sort of something like IKEA, just obvious brand to take up. They've been able to brand the one moment in human life when you fight the chaos with brown boxes. It doesn't matter what brown box it is, to some degree. So that's enough. You don't need to try and brand everything there is in somebody's life and world. And that's a huge thing already. And then, of course, within that, there's a huge amount of touch points available. So predicting beyond. Prediction itself is pretty easy now, but how to fine-tune that? The prediction doesn't make it strategic. Thinking from the service point of view makes it strategic. How does it service? So those were my kind of really fan bits, in a sense, of what I love about what we can do now. And then comes the Amara's law. And this is probably something that you all know. It's a computer scientist, Stanford. Okay, right. We talk about Amara, computer scientist from Stanford. The colleagues don't quite remember if it was 60s or 70s, so this didn't happen a couple of weeks ago. But basically, it's one of the more clever things said about future predictions, because future predictions are usually absolute utter rubbish anyway. That's a very bad, we make our best guess, and then it's usually very bad. But basically, Amara's law says that we try to overestimate the technology impact on a short term. So we are always saying, oh, it's the end of the world, and it's going to change everything. And that's hardly ever true, right? Quite the contrary, we underestimate the long-term effect and impact of technology. Like 25 years ago, nobody thought that interweb, as I call it, would change so many things. But it was kind of expected to change a lot of things at once. So that's a typical thing, for example. And it's Amara's law, right? The most sort of, this is probably something that you know a little bit better, which is basically known as the hype curve. It's an adaptation of Amara's law, right? The hype curve, I took Gardner, which is a very well-known analysis house, basically. This is, it's just, I can explain any hype curve with this. So, it's more fun than taking one of the recent technology hype curves. And there are many, and you've seen so many of them in any conference you go, right? So hype curve is exactly the kind of thing. Remember Chatbot 2016? How many of you were alive 2016? You look very young. Anyway, so, were you there? Chatbot. Chatbot was like the hottest thing. Now it's all over the place. But basically, let's take that as an example. We could use artificial intelligence. Wow, that is way, whoa, somewhere there. Everybody thinks it's going to change absolutely everything like yesterday already. So basically, I think you'd say artificial intelligence is somewhere there. A chatbot is truly kind of got very common. Everyone got them. It kind of, it didn't quite work the way it did. So this is a kind of disappointment curve. After a huge hype and after we spent lots of money here, like, we've got all the same stuff as all our competitors and friends and all those sexy people. So basically, so now we've got everything and we've taken it home to our teams and say like, yes, now we've got everything. And our teams go like, I have no idea what to do with this. And, all that feeling, but we were in New York and it was fabulous. And this is your stack. That happens all the time. So basically, then there is this, okay, we don't know how to use this, okay. We have no idea what to do with this. What? How much did you pay for this? How are you going to tell our board that was somehow useful? No, okay, right, all that. So that's going to cause a huge kind of, downfall. Then you're going to hit the bottom. Oh my God, we can't do anything with this. Yeah, and we need to, and the team is useless. Let's buy a new team. No, we can't buy a new team. You are fired. No, it's all that sort of thing. And then basically, if you tough it out in a sense, okay, we're going to stay with this for 6 months, and we're going to we're really going to learn this one thing and how to use this one. It might not be perfect, but to learn to use this one thing. It starts slowly pay off in a sense that it starts working. It's not as sexy and exciting, and nobody gets a huge big buzz out of, yeah, we can use this. But it's useful, and it's it takes a long time, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, to actually learn to use this and to understand what the consultants are telling us, and to see results and build our databases. And to learn, after we've uploaded lots of stuff to the camel, then it's going to turn into a tiger and we can get something out of it. So basically, here we are. We see this hype curve all the time with new technology. And it's just how it is. We just get excited about new things, new toys, and new ideas. So that's good to remember. You're probably going to invest to some degree, hopefully not too much. And there's going to be some disappointment. And like I said, there's no shortcut to knowledge. So hands-on, you have to do this. just saying mind and neuromarketing is nothing unless you actually know what it means. And then that means work to get there. And then there are real downfalls and problematics. Okay, right. So I'm going to end with a couple of miserable things. How much time do I have? No, cut. So 3 points about data and how, now that you think, are there any old school marketing people here?